morning, guys. It's Brian, Cliffside Outfitters. Glad to have you back with us. Well, we're back out here in the shop, and a couple years ago we pulled the boat apart. We had some damage in the hull, or not the hull, we had some damage in the floor, and we investigated that and found out that it spread to the stringers, and that it was going to be quite a project. So we started disassembling the boat. To do the work that we needed to do and do it properly, we're going to take the cap off this thing. We're going to replace the deck and the stringers in the entirety. So in this boat, you got to pull the cap to do that. So we decided that's what we're going to do, and we got it out here in the building. We pulled the cap off of it and went to order supplies to do the work. And between the process of getting the cap off of it and ordering the supplies, the world changed, and the supply chain collapsed pretty much. The material that I needed for this boat, the way I was going to do it, and I wasn't going to do it, I wasn't going to skimp out if I could help it, but the way that I wanted to do it, the material was unavailable. So with that being said, excuse me, the boat's set for a while, but things have changed. We've been able to get all the material that we think that we need, the Cusa board, the glass, the resin. I think we've got everything we need. Now, I'm probably wrong about that, but I think we have everything that we need, and we're going to resume this project. You're going to get to come along with us. You're going to see what I do. And, you know, if it turns into a disaster, that's just what it's going to be. But I think I've tried to educate myself a little bit and tried to determine what we need to do. There's a wealth of information out there. A lot of it's misleading. So you sort of have to, you know, I'll be honest with you, there's some boat builders out there that do everything perfect. A lot of those deal with bigger boats, and they're not, they don't do bass boats per se. But you learn a lot by watching those guys as to how to work with the material. And then you have a lot of other guys out there are doing the best that they can, like I'm going to do. Then you have some guys out there that are gung-ho, and they're going into it with no knowledge at all. They're using treated wood from Lowe's. I would like to do this boat right here and fix it to where it's never going to be repaired again. If it has to be repaired again, then it'll be ready for the dump. So anyway, let's take a look. I'm going to give you a little brief tour of where we're at in the project. I've not filmed all the way through because it's sort of been hit and miss. So I'm going to bring you up to speed, try to show you what we've done up to this point, and give you some of my ideas. Right or wrong, I'm going to give you some of my ideas, and you can sort of take that and deduce that into a plan to repair your boat. Alright, I want you to look at that show. So this is the top cap of the boat. From up here it looks like a boat. From underneath here it does not. And you can see that we've got it supported on some 2x4s. To pull it off, we actually had to take some ratchet straps, and we had to jack it up and get it to the point where we could get it off the hull. But let's take a look. Like I said, this is going to be, I'm not going to be able to show you a whole lot of what I've actually doing the work, but I'm going to be able to walk, maybe I can walk you through it and help you out a little bit. So naturally, we had to pull the motor. And then back here at the transom on the boat, when it was in one piece, there was a lot of material. This is called peanut butter, that glues this part of the boat to the bottom of the hull of the boat. And that peanut butter is in strategic places depending on the boat builder. One place that they had a lot of it is right here around the edge of this deck, where the deck meets the floor. All that's got peanut butter in it. Now, peanut butter is just an epoxy resin that has been thickened and used like a paste or a glue. So we had to take a sonocrafter and slide up between and under there and get all that cut free, so that we could separate the top from the bottom of the boat. You can see, or maybe you can see, that they didn't put peanut butter here. And that's a good thing, because that was held together with screws all the way around under the rub rail. However, I don't know if you can see this or not, the lighting ain't very good, but they put peanut butter right here. Fortunately for me, they had done that in a hurry, and that didn't bond all that well, so that was able to pop free. So you're going to have to look at your boat, and you're going to have to determine where the peanut butter's at. And what I did, I decided how I was going to lift it and be able to support the top of the boat. We lifted from the front and the rear, because the shape of the hull is sort of intricate. Didn't worry about it sagging in the middle. We wasn't going to, you know, after we get it off, we can hold the middle up, make sure that we don't have no deformation. But anyway, so what we did, the first thing we did was we started taking screws out. Let me show you this. So under here, there's a lip. You know, you can see my hand behind it. And then there's the hole that comes up, and all along that, all around the boat, you can see all these screw holes. That is screwed together with stainless steel screws. So there's a rub rail that goes on top of this. You can see these screw holes right here. That's what held the rub rail on. Once you get the rub rail off, you take the stainless steel screws that hold the top of the boat, the cap, to the hull. And then you start jacking it up a little bit. Now, the boat has that peanut butter that we talked about, and it also has what they call tabbing. Now the tabbing, this is the inside of the rod box. If you look over here, you can see we got a rod box. If you look down here, you're looking at the inside of it. Alright, if you look right here, you see these remnants of fiberglass, and right here you've got remnants of where there's fiberglass. There was tabbing. That's what this is. It's a piece of fiberglass that runs from the top section down to another section, whatever, but it runs from here down to the deck. So all that had to be cut free. And of course, when we put the boat back together, we'll have to put it back. That's what holds the boat together. We don't, you have to replace all this. You have to remove it to get it apart, but you got to put it back in there at some point, so that the boat don't come apart. Right? You can see this is the front of the battery box. This right here, which I'm going to replace, extended over, and it was tabbed in to the hull as well. And it goes without being said that you've got to unhook the gas tank. These are motor leads. You've got to unhook all the wiring. You can see it everywhere, and it's going to have to be redone. or in my mind on this project, it's going to have to be redone. Your situation may be different. You may not have to redo a lot of the wiring. And I may not have to redo it all, but we got to clean that up. But as you can see, more wiring, steering cables, all that good stuff that's in there. You can see right here, this is the cockpit. That's where your feet go when you're driving. There's a piece of fiberglass on the top. Piece of, I think that's called a Roven woven. And they just glass down to the floor to hold this part of the boat, this top part, to the bottom part. So you've got to get in there and you've got to cut all that. Another piece of tabbing, sorry about that. Another piece of tabbing right here where this was tied down to the boat. So where they could get to, they strategically, once the boat put back together, they put that tabbing in. Then that makes it one assembly. So what you've got to do, you've got to cut all that loose. You've got to cut that peanut butter loose. You've got to take all these screws out. Of course, you take the rub rail off, and you have to remove the motor. That sort of goes without being said. And then you slowly lift it apart. You discover what you've missed. You get that. You lift it apart, and then ta-da! The top of your boat's sitting on a trailer, or suspended up in the air, and will later be set on the trailer. And the bottom of the boat will be left on the original boat trailer. So let's talk about the hull. Now, whether this is necessary or not, I don't know. You can see that the boat is on the trailer. What I did, you can see that I've already went in there and removed one of the stringers. Like I told you before, I'm not a professional, so I'm paranoid about the whole project. I don't want to turn my boat into a corkscrew, so we want to try to keep it straight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove one stringer at a time. We're almost to the point of replacing that stringer. I've done a little bit of patching. I've done an extensive amount of sanding and grinding. It takes a lot of sanding and grinding. When these boats are put together, they're mass produced. Man, they sort of slop it in there. You know, it's sort of disappointing to look at the craftsmanship that's in a mass produced boat. But, I mean, they're getting them out there. I guess if they took the time to fin roll, which we'll learn about later on, and do everything just precise and perfect and don't have excessive material that just adds weight. If they done all that, I guess we wouldn't be able to afford a boat. But at any rate, well, some of us wouldn't be able to anyway. At any rate, there was a lot of slop in here. I ground out 25 pounds of what looked like, you know, leftover material that they put a little here and put a little there and, you know, slop it in there. So, but hey, it's a 89. Never had no problems out of it. It ain't fell apart. I think the hull and the cap's structurally sound. And when we get the bones of this thing put back together, I don't think you'll be able to ask for a better boat. But at any rate, let's take a look at what I've done. When the cap come off the boat, I noticed that very slightly the whole boat sort of laid open. It flopped open, and I didn't like that. It makes me feel like that if we go in here and we do a bunch of work with it, these sides of the boat that's out of position, when we go to put the lid back on, it's going to be like a Tupperware bowl, and you got the wrong lid for it. So what I did, periodically down through here you'll see some bracing. I just took some 2x4s in the scope of things. That's a cheap insurance, and I measured the cap at the same positions, same increments that these 2x4s are at, and I transferred it over to the 2x4, cut the 2x4, and I've run a screw. That's a 3.5 inch screw with a 1/4 inch washer. Run it in here, and that's going to hold this portion of the boat in the correct position in relation to the top. I've went all the way down through here, took care of this. I've got A, B, C, D, and E. There's enough, I think there's enough bend, there's enough structure in the way that that's designed where it's not going to flex. But the sides are sort of like panels, you know. And then of course in the back you've got enough structure to where you're not going to have no flexibility. So hopefully this is going to hold the boat in a position that when we do all the work we're going to do and we glue the floor from one side to the other, the boat's not going to be laid open like this and glued in that position, and we can get the top back on it. That's what I think is going to happen anyway. So I think that might be a good idea. Yeah, but it's going to be aggravating to work around. And I didn't put these in right away. I went in and I done a bunch of grinding and a bunch of cleaning, and then I, you know, got to thinking about the integrity of the hull as we were working on it. So this come in after I done 80% of my grinding. Well, let's knock that back, 60%, because cutting the other two stringers out and cleaning that mess up is probably going to be 40% of the project. But we had to take the transom out. Now I didn't have to remove the transom. It was in better condition than the floor and the stringers. But I ain't going this far without replacing the transom because it wasn't in pristine condition. So the way I separated my boat, a lot of people cut the back of the transom out. If you're just doing a transom replacement and you can glass the back, it'll never look the same on the back, but you can glass it back and it'll be operable. Because I'm pulling the cap, I remove the transom material from the inside. You can see that I went down in there and I've dug all the fiberglass and all the plywood out of this transom, and all I've left was the skin of the boat. Now I did put this piece of wood on the back and screw through here, try to keep that straight while we're waiting on the supply chain to pick up. But that way, when I get this boat back together, nobody's going to know that anybody's ever ripped into it. And I went in here, you see all this white material, that's some kind of peanut butter / gel coat. Back here in the transom area where you open up and you can see down in the bottom of the boat, I think they tried to dress it up a little bit and they slopped that in there. Looked like they shot it in with a cannon, but it wasn't, it was painted, but I think it was painted with a mop. And there again, I'm not knocking the way they do it. They do what they have to do to keep these boats cost effective. Now, the price of a new boat today, I would suspect that they're putting everything on with a small 1-inch paintbrush, and it's pristine and perfect. I sort of doubt that. So back to what I was saying, you can see these white spots, so it looks like a Holstein cow. I've ground all that out because if you look, it's just lumpy and gobbed up. Right here at the end of this, we had some pits and pockets that we had to replace. Most of this is structurally sound up in here, and that's in the part of the lamination. You'll have to forgive me, I don't even remember what they call them, but it's not part of the stringer system, but it gives the hull some integrity. But that's pretty good shape. We had a little bit of an issue back here at the back where we had a little water infiltration, and I chose just to make a repair. We stuffed some fiberglass mat and stuff down in there, and then I made some peanut butter and put in, and we're waiting on that to set up so we can grind that down smooth. And I had some resin left, so I went ahead and give that a little bit of a coat, and we're not done yet. Things will be tabbed to that, and but just trying to redesign, not per se redesign, but trying to improve on what they've got here. You can see that there was a pocket here where that there wasn't no material that we've had to fill, and these where this comes back here in this little thing, that was jagged and uneven and pitted, and I want the water to run out of here. I don't want it to lay in pockets and stay in here. So at any rate, that's sort of where we're at with the project. I regret that I hadn't filmed in some of the steps, you know, so that I could pass it along, whether it's helpful or hurtful. But you know, it is what it is. We just hadn't had time, and once we started getting stuff in, we got excited. But we're going to try to document some of what I'm doing here. Like I told you before, I'm not a shipwright. I'm not a boat builder. Far from it. So I'm going to try to educate myself. We're going to move forward, and hopefully it'll help somebody out there. So until next time, this is Brian with Cliffside Outfitters. Y'all have a good day.